How's it going, YouTube? Tyler the Hotshot Hauler here, guys. Bringing another video to you all talking about freight. And I want to give you my outlook on waiting for freight. Across the trucking industry, you will often see trucks usually sitting at truck stops with nothing on board. A lot of the times, maybe they're on a reset or they're waiting for freight. Okay, there is guys who will sit at truck stops for days sometimes, waiting for freight just because. And then you get people on the flip side of things like me, who don't waste more than about an hour of their time waiting for freight. And I want to break down why and explain all that type of stuff. So let's get started. The business of trucking in general as a whole, the way that you are going to make the most money on the road is to follow the freight. Now, what that means is you might be gone for 2 weeks, you might be gone for a week, you might be gone for 3 weeks. You just really don't know. So following the freight means, okay, you leave your house with a load, and then wherever you drop it, you pick another load up from there and go somewhere else. Because at almost every major place where you will deliver freight, there is usually freight available, but whether it's going to where you want it to go or not is a different story. Okay, so if you just follow the freight and take decent loads all the way around, eventually you will get back to your house. And if you do it that way, you're probably going to make more money than people that run narrow lanes like myself, okay? Many of you who've watched the channel, you know that I very rarely ever reset on the road. I usually will take a load away from the house, and if I don't find backhauls, I will drive all the way empty back to the house, okay? Usually that doesn't happen that bad, except for January of 2023. That happened every single time, and it was the worst month ever. But being able to leave the house and making sure that you get a load that is good enough to make it so in the unlikely event that you don't snag anything at all, that you'll still at least break even, okay? That's something that I always do. I always make sure I set myself up so if the stars do not align at all, at least I'm not completely screwed. My opinions on waiting for freight is I will not wait for freight for more than about an hour. And that is just because of my odds of catching freight, okay? On the flatbed trucking side of things, my odds of getting a load is probably about as low as they get, okay? And here's why. Okay, you have to think. You have flatbedder semis, you have step deck semis, lowboy semis who can haul almost all hotshot freight that we can, okay? You also have over CDL hotshots. There is guys a lot bigger out there that can carry, 40 foot worth of cargo and 20,000+ pounds. Whereas me, I can carry 30 foot of cargo and 10,000 pounds. And then there's, other hotshotters under CDL who can carry, maybe 8,000 pounds and they have a 40 foot trailer or something like that. There's all different makeups, all right? Well, being that I'm not 40 foot and being that I have to be careful to not overload my rear truck axle, my freight window of what I can pick up is much less than probably anybody else out there on the market. So what I'm getting at is my gambling odds are the worst odds of anybody out there. That is another reason why I don't wait for freight, because waiting for freight for me has paid off one time in all the times I've waited for freight. Other than that, I've wasted time. I've wasted even more money sitting around rotting and eating or spending another night in a hotel or doing whatever. So I've not only increased my expenses, but I ended up coming back to the house later with less money and more frustrated. Okay, so for me, I don't wait for freight. It'll drop and I will turn and burn. And if the stars do not align, it is what it is. Let me dig into this more about what happens when you wait for freight. Let's say you're waiting at a truck stop for 2 days. Let's talk about, and waiting at a truck stop is probably your cheapest way to wait for freight. You have access to bathrooms, you have access to food, you have access to everything you could need, okay? Now, how expensive does this get? Okay, well, here's what guys don't realize when they sit there and they wait for freight, okay? They're paying for not only to take care of themselves for food, hygiene, any extra entertainment that they want because they're going to be sitting there in the truck. Now, most guys, especially hotshots, don't have APUs and stuff like that like semis have. So when the weather's bad, you're going to be running your truck or you're going to be freezing. And when the weather is hot, you're going to be dying of heat. So you have the added expense of using your equipment to basically keep yourself alive. And then you have your daily overhead cost. Okay, guys, your daily overhead cost, not including depreciation. I'm talking just insurance. Your daily insurance cost is probably anywhere from $50 to $70 as a hot shotter. Okay, so if you sit there for 2 days, let's say it's $50 a day. That's $100 you just lost just sitting there, not including the other two things I talked about. Okay, more importantly, you have your time. Guys, your time is what is so valuable. People don't understand this. People ask me what I bill my time at. If I'm driving down the road, I bill my time at $100 an hour because that is what I bill my local customers for me to move freight for them. I bill them anywhere from $100 to $115 an hour depending who I'm working for. Okay, that is what my time is worth if I'm driving. If I'm sitting still, I take half of that. That is what my time is. So basically, I value my time at no less than $50 an hour. Okay, so if I'm sitting there, let's just say it's during work hours for a whole day, let's say I work for 10 hours, that's $500 a day, just sitting there doing nothing, not including added expenses. You factor in your added expenses, you are costing yourself basically $600 a day about to sit there and wait for freight. Many guys will sit there and are super picky about freight. They won't load stuff on their trailers for less than $2 a mile. How you can even stay in business waiting for loads like that is beyond me, because if you've spent any time in the trucking industry, you know the loads on the load boards that pay over $2 a mile are gone before you can even get your phone out to make the call. Okay, it comes down to literally seconds. And if you've ever been lucky enough to book good loads that are paying $2.50, $3 a mile or more, there is literally, if they give it to you, there is like a line of people behind you that don't get the load. They say, sorry, load's already been covered. Okay, and that sucks. And it really sucks, especially when you need freight. So guys who sit there at truck stops for days on their phones and keep refreshing, or they sit on their laptops waiting for that perfect load to pop up, the odds of snagging that load even after it pop up, especially if it's a good load, is not in your favor. So I have just accepted, guys, if the stars don't align, you are not going to get freight, and trying to force it is only going to cost you frustration and stress, because I cannot tell you the number of times I've been on the road driving home and loads have popped up behind me where I just was, or loads have popped up in front of me, and I can't make it to it because I sat there and waited for freight, or vice versa. It is always, guys, the stars have to align. Now, granted, you can be strategic. When you start to run the road, you start to learn, okay, hey, cool, hey, here's a good spot to maybe wait for freight for a little bit of extra time. My gambling odds are higher that I'm going to catch freight out of here than I will if I was 3 hours over here. And that's just stuff that you learn. But guys, let me tell you, waiting for freight boils down to the stars have to align. It boils down to three things. You have to be at the right place at the right time with the right equipment. That is just what it boils down to. And stuff has to work perfectly in your favor regardless of where you are for freight to go on your trailer. That is just how it works. And those odds are odds that, especially being the guy at the bottom who had the least amount of odds to catch freight, I'm never going to gamble on those odds. Maybe if I was a much bigger hot shotter or a semi driver, it'd be a lot different story. But for me, as a non-CDL hot shotter, I will never, ever gamble on freight. In 2 days as a hot shotter, you can easily drive anywhere from 1,000 to 1,400 miles. That is a long distance of traveling. In 2 days, you can be home, back to your house, unless if you're driving completely across the United States, you can be back to your house within 2 days from almost anywhere in the United States. Well, at least for me, because I live in the Midwest. But the only time I'll wait for freight is if I am doing my meal break reset, and then after that, I will turn and burn and head to the house. And obviously, as I go down the road, I will periodically check for freight. And if it doesn't come up, it doesn't come up. That's just how it works. For us to make money, the freight has to be at the right place, at the right time, and we have to have the right equipment. And that is what it boils down to. And we have to be able to get good freight. And sometimes there's good freight, and sometimes there's bad freight. We can't control any of that. We can only negotiate a little bit, and hopefully we're at the right place at the right time with the right equipment. So anyways, guys, that is going to sum up this video. If you enjoyed this video, please shoot me a like and a subscribe. If you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to throw them in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.